Välkommen till Småbolagsdagarna 2021 and a warm welcome to our next CEO. That is Mr. Claus Elsborg Olesen from Initiator Pharma. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And how are you today?
I'm very fine. Of course. I mean, meeting all these interesting companies and it's been great. Where are you at the moment? Where are you?
I'm in Aarhus in Denmark, where we have majority of our operations operating from. So enjoying the blue skies inside today.
Okay. Are you ready to give us your presentation of Initiator Pharma? Okay, so please go ahead. I'll leave the screen for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Claus Elsborg Olesen, and I'm the CEO of Initiator Pharma. Initiator Pharma is a clinical stage life science company dedicated to safe therapeutic modulation of monoamine neurotransmitters. With this technology, we can actually provide therapeutic treatment for a range of central nervous system disorders with significant unmet medical needs. We have two proprietary drug candidates in clinical development, IP 2015 and IP 2018. Looking at our clinical programs, we actually have the 3 clinical programs, and that is because we're using the IP 2015 in 2 different indications. But you can say the common denominator of our clinical pipeline is that we are working with pathways that are validated. So we know that targeting the monoamines can provide some sort of relief in the different indications that we're working with. And also there's a lot of preclinical data and also clinical data showing that targeting the monoamines, we can actually provide relief in the indications listed here. So the first 2 programs is organic erectile dysfunction. So we earlier this year, last year generated a phase 2A proof of concept. We have now filed for a phase 2B study, so a somewhat larger study with including much more patients. And we're doing this in collaboration with Mac Clinical Research in the UK, and we expect to have the approval for this study, during the summer, so we can start in Q3 dosing the first patients. In IP 2018 is also erectile dysfunction. It's a different kind of erectile dysfunction, what we denominate psychogenic erectile dysfunction. We have an ongoing phase 2A in this, and I'll get back to a little bit more on the details of the program. This is also a finance program. And also we have now the last program, the new addition to the company is within neuropathic pain, in severe neuropathic pain in an orphan drug indication called trigeminal neuralgia. And we have recently announced that we have the financing in place for this. And we're looking to start a phase 1B proof of principle study in pain fairly soon. But again, all de-risk pathways where we know there is clinical efficacy with various compounds. So we're targeting very attractive markets with these programs that we have. Erectile dysfunction, as you probably heard earlier today as well, there's more than 300 million men suffering from this. But what is the market segment that we are going for? We're actually going for the patients that do not respond to the standard of care. So the patients do not get relief from the current in the medication out there. And that's 30 to 40% overall of the ED population. And again, here we are splitting it up into the 2 different assets. We have organic and psychogenic erectile dysfunction. And you can see for the organic, what happens to us when we go older, it ranges from 1 to 2.3 billion euros in peak sales. And again, we can get the premium pricing for this product as we are targeting non-responders. The same for the psychogenic ED. Again, we're targeting non-responders. Here the sales we estimate to be between 700 million up to 1.9 billion euros for the compounds at peak sales. The last addition now is in trigeminal neuralgia. That's, as I said, an orphan drug indication, so a much smaller patient segment. But there's, of course, some benefits going into orphan drugs. We can get a premium price for the product, and also we'll get additional patent protection and market exclusivity because we're targeting these smaller, more rare disease. And here we're looking from 500 up to 1.4 billion euro in peak sales. So as you see, we have actually multiple shots in high value indications and very diversified indications as well. So what is it we have in Initiator that is so unique? Well, we actually maximizing, the value of our proprietary drug candidates that are already in the clinic. So we have completed all the preclinical work. We're actually now generating data that is what we need to do to take the compounds forward to registration. We have a highly approved and experienced development team behind this, leading the operations, being hands-on in all aspects of the development. And also what the trials that we're looking at are fairly, you can say, short clinical trials. The efficacy of these compounds will come fairly fast. So with a modest investment, we can actually reach multiple value inflection points. And you could say the clinical efficacy endpoints that we are targeting is truly validated, both for neuropathic pain, but also for erectile dysfunction. It's something that our regulatory authorities have seen before, and they know how to interpret data. So we see this as a truly, attractive risk-reward profile. Again, targeting pathways where we know targeting the monoamines will work. And also we now see with the addition of the orphan drug program, we actually have an even faster way to the market with our first product. So we are devoted to, dedicated to developing, new and effective treatments for the benefit of the patients. So this year, we're going to have a significant number of value inflection points coming up and also beyond. So we have filed the phase 2B application. I said we expect to have the approval of that so we can start in Q3. Then we expect to have the results coming out of the phase 2A, the proof of principle in psychogenic erectile dysfunction. And we will initiate the proof of principle study in the pain program with a healthy volunteer investigation study where we look for the demonstration of looking for the compound, how it works in pain patients. Next year, we'll complete the proof of principle study in pain. We'll complete the organic erectile dysfunction study, the phase 2B study. We'll complete a MAD, multiple ascending dose, so you give the compound multiple times. And also we'll complete the regulatory strategy for going into the trigeminal neuralgia and how we actually accelerate that towards the markets in the best possible manner. And we'll continue the clinical development of IP 2018 based on the data that we get of the phase 2A, finding the right way to position this and to continue forward. So a lot of reasons to join Initiator Pharma. Initiator Pharma, in brief, is a Danish company founded or located in Copenhagen in Denmark. We have been listed on the Spotlight stock market since 2017. We have approximately 4,000 shareholders, and we have a market cap of approximately 180 million Swedish at the time, and we have just raised a bit of additional money, and the total of the preferential issue will have raised 131 million Swedish to this. You see on the right hand side, you see we recently attracted Link AB and Adrigo in as investors, and I will look at this in the next slide. So the investment that I spoke about, financing this expansion of the pipeline and the multiple value inflection points upcoming, we're actually really excited going in. So we did a direct issue of 30 million Swedish. And also then we have issued a preferential right issue of approximately another 30 million Swedish that is fully guaranteed by the direct investors. And actually the majority of the proceeds from this will actually go into the new clinical program. They will actually go into the neuropathic pain program. The proceeds will also take us well into 2023. So we have a good runway now. And what about this runway? This runway will actually provide us good opportunity to continue the clinical development, but also the business development of the company. Of course, the investors that we brought in, Link and Adrigo, are long-term investors. They're very good known names in the stock market. They are known for being committed for long-term investment in the companies. And we think it's truly validation of us as a company that we have done things right. Even in difficult times, we always made sure we did things the right way, and we continue to develop the compound as needed to ensure that there's good quality behind what we do. We expect the preferential rights issue to take place during the summer, so that's during the month of July, and when we have more exact dates, we will get back to the market, but this is pending a little bit the approval of the prospectus. So who's the people behind Initiator Pharma? Well, we have you can say both on the management side and also on the board of directors, we have multiple, truly validated people who's been doing this many, many times. Our chairman of the board, Magnus Persson, is the chairman of multiple companies, but also has a background as MD and been in pharma industry for many years, developing drugs, taking them through phase 1, phase 2, and so on. So this is a truly strong board supporting us in our development and our strategy for going forward. On the leadership team, we have multiple people who's been in the industry for more than 30 years within, clinical development of drugs within the CNS area. For example, Anna Wieland, who has a background with Lundbeck, both taking things from the really early part of the research and development all the way to clinical approval and market launch. So we are super strong in the overall perspective of looking at CNS disorders in general, and we know a lot about monoamine neurotransmitters. So this is our core expertise. So in the beginning, I said safe therapeutic modulation of monoamines. And of course, they can be a little bit, what is this and how do we interpret this and what is it actually he's talking about? Well, Part of the brain consists of a network of neurons. So this is cell types that actually, you can say, communicate by a signal molecule called monoamines. So these are molecules, and you know them. Monoamines are, for example, dopamine, serotonin, or nephrine. So these are molecules that are actually released in a controlled manner in the brain. So we actually get various phenotypes. It controls emotion, arousal, mood, sexual function, and some sorts of memory as well. So it's all a tightly regulated control process, and one needs to be very careful when manipulating with the system. So it's actually a technology that has been applied for a number of years. So it is actually a truly validated technology. People with depressions have for years been treated with compounds that increase the serotonin level in the brain. However, if you don't do it in the right way, you get the negative side effects. And this is exactly what we see, for example, with the people being tested for depression. They often also have, sexual dysfunction as they are overdosed on the serotonin, for example. And also there's other issues with doing this. There's toxicity, cardiovascular complications, and so on. And I'll touch upon this a little bit later. But what we have in Initiator Pharma, we have compounds that go in and modulate the monoamine in a very safe manner. So we can actually get efficacy while still retaining the safety. And this is very unique for the compounds we have. So looking at the pipeline, the expansion going into the trigeminal neuralgia space, we actually looked at, what is it that our compound would fit into? Where's a good indication? We know monoamines play a really important role in endogenous pain, particularly in neuropathic pain. As I said before, it's a validated pathway. So, for example, duloxetine has been shown, demonstrated to provide relief in some pain indications. However, there's many side effects associated to this compound. For example, sexual dysfunction, liver tox, even a risk of suicide in FDA black box warning. So what we are doing with the IPTN21 program is actually we're taking our unique drug candidate in that differentiates, with safety and also having efficacy at the same time. So we are bringing the safety aspect while we're retaining the safety and the efficacy of the compound. So this is very unique for the Initiator Pharma compounds. When we're looking into various indications where our compound would be a good thing and will be a good fit, having the right profile, we identified this orphan drug disease called trigeminal neuralgia. So this is, as I said, an orphan drug only affecting 13 out of 100,000 patients worldwide. We see it twice as much in females, especially above the age of 50. So it's a very, very debilitating pain that comes as a sudden onset down over your face, over the trigeminal neuralgia, the trigeminus nerve over your face. And it can be, very short, 1-2 seconds, extreme burst of pain. And it can be triggered by touching, putting on makeup, brushing your teeth, or it can just come without cause. So the way you treat these patients today, you can either go in and you can do an invasive surgery where you go in and you find what is touching the nerve. So you identify something that is compressing the nerve, giving this cause of pain. But actually, a lot of these patients don't get full relief. There's a lot of side effects with that. You get numb in the face, and actually the pain returns before that you start feeling your face again. The only pharmacological treatment approved is carbamazepine, an anticonvulsant, which is an old drug, a very dirty drug that has a range of negative side effects, and also the efficacy of this compound is reduced. And we see it as time goes, it wears off. We definitely see this as we see a lot of patients that are taking carbamazepine are actually using a lot of other compounds on top, trying to control and medicate the pain. So we see this as a very attractive indication going into with our monoamine modulators. The way we want to do this, we want to go in, as I said, do a stepwise accelerated development of the trigeminal neuralgia pain program. And first, we'll go into a proof of principle pain study where we'll actually, take healthy volunteers. We'll induce pain using capsaicin, which is the active pharmaceutical ingredient in chili, and then we will actually do a whole range of pain panel battery tests on them. And the reason why we do this is because then we can go in, we can look at different doses with our compound. How do the patient react over time, and also to various kind of pains and stimulations. And you can say the reason for doing this is developing something we call a PK-PD relationship. So PK for being, how does the compound work and what effect does it have? This is really important data that we need to bring into the proof of concept trial later in trigeminal neuralgia patients. While we are doing this early proof of principle, we are developing the drug candidate. So we're actually making it into a drug product, so something that can actually be launched on the market later on. And this product we will then take into the phase 1 MAD study, where we'll give multiple ascending doses of the compound. And with this data, we're actually ready to start a trigeminal neuralgia patient study. We are right now exploring the opportunity to how to do this, whether we should go into a true phase 2 or whether we should do a phase 2, phase 3. And we're discussing this with the regular authorities, how we can, reduce the development time so we actually even faster can come to a product registration of this. So this is really exciting times, and we're looking forward here. So for a very modest investment and a short timeline, we can actually generate a clinical proof of concept in an orphan drug designation, a truly value inflection point to the company. Skipping to the last part of the talk, you're saying what we have also been focused on from the beginning of Initiator Pharma is actually still full focus on erectile dysfunction. We see it as an increasing number of men suffering from ED. We expect more than 300 million patients to suffer from this worldwide. And we see that 30 to 40% on average do not respond to the current treatment. So coming back to the ED can have two causes, either organic or psychogenic ED causes. But looking at this, it's just kind of splitting them up in between understanding what is organic and what is psychogenic. The organic is what happens to us when we turn 40 and older. The system gets, less adequate at delivering blood to the penile tissue so we can get an erection. And it's a gradual onset, and we see it getting worse and worse as we're getting older. And of course, lifestyle is important here. Overweight and diabetes and other things is actually heavily impacting the number of patients getting this. And as we go older, the likelihood of organic erectile dysfunction is just larger. Psychogenic comes from different causes. Here it's performance anxiety, low self-esteem, depression. Also taking antidepressants can actually reduce and hinder an erection response. So you can say that even though it's still erection, this can happen to young people. You still have the whole system for being able to have the blood running into the penis. However, you don't have the CNS system in a balance where you can actually have an erection. And we are therefore developing two compounds, IP 2015 for the organic and IP 2018 for the psychogenic. So our clinical development pipeline is looking like this. Right now, we have an ongoing psychogenic ED trial in 24 patients. And we expect to have the readout later this year. And this is, again, it's a study where we bring in, it's a three-way crossover SAD study. So they get one dose, but they actually get two different doses of our compound and a placebo. And then we stimulate them with the erotic movie, and we measure with the Richter scan, what is actually happening here. So the similar study as we ran for the 2015 program, where we actually demonstrated, proof of concept by taking in moderate to severe ED patients, giving them the compound, and we saw that 25% of these patients actually responded positively to the retreatment with our compound IP 2015. What's really interesting is here that you can say that both what we do here, we are strengthening the natural erection response. So a normal erection response is driven by the stimulation, seeing something nice being touched, this released dopamine in the brain, and then you actually get the erection. Here we are strengthening this, so you can say, again, we are making sure that we can help the patients that do not respond to the standard of care. The data we got out of the last clinical trial was really nice. We are super excited about these results because we also made sure that we continue development of this compound in a phase 2B study. And actually we got a deal with Mac Clinical Research that they will go in and fund the clinical cost of this study and take that on them, and they could convert it into shares at a 70% premium at a later stage. So this is a very attractive for us. So what is it we're going to do in the time while we're doing all these clinical development? I think there's a lot of things that we want to say on the business development. What we want to do is we want to generate data until we have seen clinical activity. So we actually see something that is generating value. We see efficacy in the specific patient groups. We are always open to dialogues with partners, and we reach out to partners. We participate in meetings with potential partners, but we always make sure that we drive the programs forward independently. We do not want to be, attached to one company at this stage, saying that, oh, you just do like this, and then we'll take you. We want to make sure that there's a competitive market around us as our pipeline is developing. The 2015, we have now shown that there's proof of concept in the phase 2A. We are bringing this into a 120 patient study where we'll actually use the same clinical endpoints as we'll do in a later registration trial. And this has definitely enhanced the value of activities going forward, discussing with partners. We are looking forward to get the data out of psychogenic ED. When we have those data coming out, we'll continue the optimal strategy and develop that strategy for how to create the most value for this compound. And this is, of course, based on the results that we got out of this. And we're looking very much forward to this discussion and also insight into strategic choice here. On the neuropathic pain program, here's something that's something that's new to Initiator Pharma, because this is actually a program, as I mentioned, that we can take all the way to registration. Phase 2-3 only includes from 100 to 180 patients. So you could actually, for a modest investment, actually take this all the way to product launch, where you with the EDE would need to partner up with pharmas at a later stage for the phase 3 trial, where you need more than 1,500 patients going in. So you can say with this, we actually have building an additional leg to the company, making sure that we are not solely reliant on finding a partner, but we actually have the opportunity to keep on developing things ourselves. And we see this as a very strong position and leverage when we go out and discuss with future partners. So right now we are generating data to the business development strategy, and we are really excited with this stuff that we get out of these studies and supporting our discussions. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Claus. Very interesting. And interesting enough, you are actually the second company here today targeting the market for erectile dysfunction. So, and that CEO, Göran Beyer, he said that he was on a regular basis, he was contacted by men calling him up or sending him emails and saying, hey, can I take part of your program or your clinical studies? Is this happening to you as well?
Yes, we see that. We see that actually for the ED. We also already got the first few contacts on the trigeminal neuralgia trial that we not even haven't designed yet. So patients are also looking into this. Right now, we are running all our trials in the UK. So when we do that, you can say that there's majority of the people being recruited are coming from the mid-England area. So it's a little bit difficult as a Dane or a Swede to participate in the trial, but we definitely hear that.
But even if you can offer them a place in the clinical study, I mean, this must be really interesting to hear that they are participating in your development.
Exactly.
So what can you say about your target group? Because it's estimated that you said that 150 million men worldwide are actually, they do not respond to currently marketed drugs, and that number is growing very, very strongly also. But out of those 150 men today, how many of those would you say are your prioritized target group?
Yeah, so we know that, so of course, this is the number that of patients suffering from ED worldwide. We know that in the US and Europe combined, there's probably between about 45 million men getting prescriptions for ED drugs. Now, of course, some of them, they're starting getting over-the-counter products. So you can say that here you say 30 to 40% of them do not respond to the current treatment. And that number is probably a little bit larger, because you can say in that group, it's majority of the patients getting there are the one who's actually responding. So that's still many, many millions of patients if you say 30 to 40% of that number. And this is the US and Europe alone. And we definitely see that Asia, China is driving up the market quite a bit. We see men are getting older there. They're starting having some lifestyle problems that we have in Europe. So definitely there's a big market in Asia as well. So we see that we want to target the patients, as I said, that do not respond. And the numbers that are, go ahead.
But talking about the Viagra and the Cialis, I mean, their patents ran out recently, and that has started some kind of a race for new competitors that would like to take their places, I guess. Will you be able to take part of this race, or will it be too late for you?
No, I think it will never be too late, because it's again, it's very important to understand that we do not target the patients that respond to the PD-5 inhibitors. So even though they become generic and off patents, they can still provide these cheaper products to the patients. We are targeting the patients that do not respond to this treatment, and there is no relief for these patients. So those are the ones we want to target, and that's why we can get the premium price. Then you can say, with our product coming out, as you heard earlier as well, there's a lot of not so good side effects with the current compounds. And we actually anticipate that even with our compound, we can actually win some of the existing market, even though they would have to pay a premium price compared to the generics. So we definitely do not see ourselves late in this, because we don't see any other companies providing a compound that can target the non-responders in the way we do, where we strengthen the natural erection.
Yeah. I would also like to know, are you only targeting male patients, or is it possible that you can expand your target group to also include women? Because, I mean, if you don't like me to compare you with Viagra, but the fact is that a lot of Viagra was actually, a lot of women actually were taking Viagra, even though it was maybe not their, it was their husband that bought it, but actually it was a lot of women there.
It's a really good question, and you know, it's sometimes when we talk about this, we often talk about erectile dysfunction as only the guy related. Of course, there's also a partner in this, and this is really important to understand. You can say that in a little bit in fun, saying that men are more like rats, so they are easier to make studies on. So the way erection works in rats is the same way that works in men. Women are much more complicated because, first of all, you know, we have women that are post and pre-menopause, so there's a different background of hormones in their bodies. But in general, you can say that arousal is also important in women, and this is also releasing, you know, again with the dopamine, we get a dilation of the blood and we get increased blood flow to the genitals. So this is also something that, but it's much more difficult to show in animal models, and that's why we so far have focused on looking at the men where we can see it in the rats. But of course, you know, if we need to also make sure that the partner is stimulated in the right manner. And FSD, so female sexual dysfunction, it's a huge problem, and we would very much like to do something about that as well.
So you're not closing any doors to the female market?
No, for sure not. That's just as important market as ED is.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I have a question from the audience. Which candidate has the highest RNPV for, that means estimated, risk-adjusted net price value for Initiator based on their potential?
So looking at, so saying that now we have a phase 2A data for the 2015, and that's of course the first step. And that's saying, we say right now we are quite far with that. We can say we have shown that it works in the clinic. 2018 is still in that trial, and when we have the data, when we analyze it, we can see what it will do to these patients. So right now the biggest value is on the organic. However, you know, what we have actually done with checking the trigeminal neuralgia, we actually also have now come in with a drug that we can bring much faster to the market. And this is also important within the patent life. So we get something even faster out there to generate value. So we see that this is the order. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something about your patents, but this viewer would like you to elaborate a little bit more. Can you tell us a little bit more, please, about your patents?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what is public information, because of course we continue developing our patent portfolio so we can stay as strong as possible. The 2015 patent is expiring in 2031, and the 20 IP 2018 is expiring in 25-26, depending on the territory. So I'm just remembering this right. However, you can say for the 2018 we have we already have good strategy in place for extending that. So we have additional patents both on, you can say, on drug substance and on clinical use. So we will actually have a quite fresh portfolio of patents when we are coming to the market approval of these drugs. So we will have good protection beyond what we have now and going in forward as we hit the clinic or the market with these products.
Okay, and a short answer to the last question from the audience, saying that in my mind the candidate for erectile dysfunction will bring royalties. What are the possible payouts in a BP deal?
Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult to say, but normally when you have a phase 2 data, you're looking at a very high single-digit or double-digit numbers, and then you can start extrapolating from there. So that's really, really nice commercial opportunity there for going into that. And then there's an upfront payment, and we are of course all the way trying to find out what's the most optimal way for the company in relation to the development cost and the deal we can make. So this is an ongoing process for us.
Okay, that was the last question, your last answer. So thank you so much, and take care and stay safe, and keep on working for your important business. So thank you so
very much.
Bye.
And thank you for all the questions. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Claus.